Like enough is enough. Enough is, I don't like the fake shit. Draymond Green, you know what it is? When he if there's a certain point where he sounds inauthentic is when he tries to overtalk and he tries to sound smart. It's like all you gotta do is be yourself, Draymond. They already love you. They want to see the savage. That's what people don't are lying about. They're lying as if they don't enjoy the savage. The Golden State Warriors, Bob Myers put the tape out on purpose. You put that tape out on purpose. Boston Celtics, I ain't forget about your dumbasses. They fucked that up with Ime Udoka. Big time. All these organizations just they don't act like organizations. They don't act organized. Golden State, they knew what they had. They knew they had a gold mine. A gold mine out to get rid of Draymond. And Draymond, because here's my thing with Draymond. He's been doing this his entire career. What is so new about what Draymond Green is doing? That's what I want to know. What's so new about it? He always ODs, right? How do I take this overlay off? Theme. Boom. He always ODs. It's nothing new. You could go back to the Kevin Durant thing, right? He called him a bitch, punched LeBron in the nuts, got kicked out of a finals game, right? He ends up recruiting KD apparently, or that's a misnomer. Whatever. They rolled out the red carpet for the same guy that he ends up cursing out. And Golden State, by the way, they're the same people that told him to apologize to Kevin Durant. He told them, your general manager and your owner told you to go apologize to the superstar that we need to re-sign this coming off season. But we just lost because they got injured. Kevin Durant gets injured. Klay Thompson gets injured. You have a bunch of teammates that got injured. And we need these guys back in the next 2 or 3 years. Draymond, can you go do that for us? You were wrong. What does Draymond Green say? No, I will not do that. Not only would I not do that, I'm going to be friends with him and make another podcast about it and be unapologetic. That was about 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Draymond's 32, 33 now. So that was his late 20s, early 30s. I guess Golden State figured he had some miles left. Isn't that what happened? Golden State said, you know what? We think Draymond is still, he's too valuable for us to leave and let go now because KD's out the door. We need to rebuild. We need to work on Steph's health, make sure he's okay. The pandemic happens. So a lot of this stuff gets thrown under the rug. KD kind of fails with the Nets. You see what happens again against Boston. Draymond again cost them another game. He cost them another game. He said he was in Boston and he was shook. He cost him that game because you see the very next game he came out and he was savage mode, pure savage mode. They won that game. Not only due to him, obviously Steph had his best series, definitely his best championship series, right? But part of that is Ime Udoka messing up and the Boston Celtics messing up, not guarding Steph the way every other team that wants to beat Golden State, like in the beginning of the year when they beat the shit out of him, out of Steph Curry. Ime Udoka said, you know what? That's a bad idea. Let's just, let's not put two bodies on him. Let's not get any elbows on him. Let's just see what he can do. Let's see what Steph can do. And he destroyed the Celtics. But that made, because remember, he scored 25 in the first half in game one against the Celtics. All of that makes you, and the fact that they won, it has you overlooking the fact that this guy has his own podcast. And he's on there talking about, I don't know how I get away with this shit that I be doing. I gotta look this shit up, man. Says I don't know how I get away with this. That's what he said. But he was on ESPN and they asked him. He goes, I don't know how I get away with this stuff. I mean, the kicking people in the nuts. He started the whole thing with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown ends up losing himself, and the Celtics end up getting emotional, too riled up, and they're the number one defensive team. They don't have the offense in gear that they can get into sync like the Warriors. The Boston Celtics have been up and down with their offense all season long, and they did not clamp down on what was the best defense in the league. Golden State was ranked number 2 and they were close, but this wasn't physically. I didn't see anything like Boston all year long, right? And part of that savage Golden State number 2 defense was the Draymond Green thing. Against the Memphis Grizzlies, he's going crazy, jumping up and down in the crowd. What is he yelling about? Same thing, same deal. He got thrown out of a game. He should have got kicked out of 2 or 3 games in the playoffs. He should have been suspended 1 or 2 times in the playoffs. They were letting him get away with stuff. And it's not just like Golden State's not going to suspend them, but the league should have done that. But there's something to being a superstar in the league and getting calls. They'll never talk about that. They'll never admit that, but it's true. We always go to Michael Jordan and Magic, and we go to the superstars. But Dennis Rodman got away with a lot of stuff. He got kicked, he got suspended for 15 games, but he was playing a lot of games out there. Once you become Patrick Beverly, once you become this a star defender like that, people like to root against you. And the NBA, again, I'm always pointing to the fact that Mark Cuban was the first person to point out that I can remember how Twitter is advantageous to the NBA's ratings. No, we don't have the same high ratings that we did like the Bulls, except for when Golden State was on a run with Kevin Durant, and it reminded everyone of the Bulls run, right? In the 90s, the late 90s. Aside from that, the NBA needs Twitter, the engagement to sell ads and to make it's just a part of their revenue in general. They make $8 to $10 billion a year. So how do you participate in the engagement? How do you, in this day and age on social media, who are the biggest influencers and people that people engage with? Trolls. Draymond Green is the biggest superstar troll in the NBA. Like LeBron does it on a political level when he talks about China, he does whatever the hell he wants to do. But Draymond Green does it in a way where he's getting on your nerves. He's the Dennis Rodman of this era. That's bottom line. He's not like Rodman was more athletic. Rodman was supposed to be that good defensively, I think, athletically. Where was Rodman drafted? No, Draymond was a second rounder. Dennis Rodman was drafted in the second round also. 27th overall pick. 27th. So that was the beginning of the second round, right? And Draymond was drafted to win. Oh, the second round. Number 35. So he was really like 8 slots lower than Rodman, both in the second round. I think if Rodman was around when there were 30 NBA teams, he would have been in the first round, right? But either way, late first, early second, these guys are in a similar thought of as similar talent wise, or at least necessity wise, during the time of their drafts. Enigmas. These guys are doing things, especially in the media, that is a genius and a boldness really to what Draymond is doing and what Dennis Rodman did. Because Dennis Rodman now, when you look back at it, he's almost like Russell Westbrook wears a dress now. It's not even shocking anymore because so many celebrities do it. And so many like alpha male celebrities do that. And Rodman was doing it, and he wasn't necessarily an alpha male, but you got to say he was because physically he was. To see someone like that paint their hair red, be brolic, cut up, and just look like a savage, and then he puts a dress on. He has, that was the glitch. Draymond is the glitch of this era. What Kyrie thinks he is, Draymond is. 1000%. Draymond thinks he is the enigma. He makes this thing, and Kyrie could do it, but he's so like caught up in himself. He thinks he's way more mystical than what he is. Draymond, again, and I love when Kyrie talks. I always said that was the problem with Kyrie. He'll just talk a little bit more, and you'd be way more influential. Draymond's thing is he just keeps going. He found the right team, and he takes advantage of this. And I can't be mad at that part. I thought it was a sucker move for him to punch Jordan Poole the way he did. Don't get me wrong. Like, I thought that was a sucker move. to the sucker punch. People are arguing about whether or not, if you came from this era, you came from this neighborhood, Jordan Poole would have had his hands up. And shut the fuck up, bro. I hate that. Like, listen, there are plenty. There's a bunch of pussies everywhere. There's a bunch of gangsters everywhere. So I don't even like to hear shit like that. The bottom line is, when you talk shit to somebody, and some of us are able to sense a violent climate is upon us. Some of us know how to respond. Fight or flight takes over. This motherfucker's too big. I want to grab this knife. I'm gonna grab this bottle. Some of us know how to respond in that. I'm not saying I would. I don't know what I would have done. People love to say what they would have done. I won't even have to tap into my history. I just know that if I'm talking to anyone that way, you got to be ready for that. That's cool. But at the same time, Jordan Poole let down the light skin community. He makes up for it by signing for, is it 4 years, 140 million? Is it 4 years? 4 years, 140 million. Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Hey man, sometimes 4 years, 140 million extension. The Golden State Warriors have agreed to Drew Morrison, Austin Brown of CAA Sports. So Jordan Poole is a CAA client. Jordan Poole is a CAA client. You know who used to be a CAA client? LeBron James. You know who Draymond Green's daddy is? LeBron James. They both left that. Leon Rose was a part of CAA. He left also. He has a great relationship, or apparent relationship, with LeBron. And it wouldn't surprise us. I mean, Draymond is clutch, right? Comes in the aftermath of Draymond Green's punch of Poole. As he emerges in the league at 28th, late first rounder, 28th overall pick. So he's in a similar place as Draymond in terms of draft picks and necessity for their time. Career highs last season: 18.5 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds for Jordan Poole. He started 51 games. Wait a minute. When he scored 25 points on 60% shooting 6 times in the title run, that tied him with Jerry West in 1968 for the second most in a single postseason. He had a hell of a, and trailing only Andrew Toney, the Philadelphia underrated. What the hell is that? These stupid commercials, man. So Jordan Poole had a hell of a season last season. Ends up signing for 4 years, 140. Andrew Wiggins signs for the 4 years, 105 million. 109 million. 4 years, 109 million. $109 million. Drew Morrison and Stephen Human of CAA Sports. Oh, interesting name here. Drew Morrison ties the Warriors. Wiggins to the Warriors for 5 years, 143. The deal, which includes a player option in the final year, ties Wiggins to the Warriors for 5 years, 143. And now you see the Warriors have a payroll and luxury tax of the upcoming 2023-2024 season. It's looming at an unprecedented unprecedented $483 million. Right. So they're both. You can see Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins are both CAA members. That really makes everything interesting after he punched Jordan. Draymond is going all out on the former CAA. He's gang banging on the former CAA agency, on LeBron's former agency. He's doing LeBron's dirty work. It doesn't look good because Draymond is a pending. His free agency is going to be pending at the end of this season. He'll be a free agent, and everyone was saying this as that was part of the rumor, right? Like Jordan Poole's talking shit to him, and Stephen A. Smith. This guy is. It would come on. It would not shock me if new media, Clutch Sports has a deal in place with the Action Network, and the Action Network, who owns what's that? What's Draymond's Colin Cowherd's company called? The Volume. It wouldn't surprise me if who the Volume is the company that it's like iHeartMedia. They are a podcast network. It looks like they are that's who hosts the Draymond Green show, the Colin Cowherd show, and they have several other shows, but they're owned and ran by the Action Network. The Action Network, and it's fun. This is why it's so ironic that Draymond would say that he's part of a new media. The Action Network, you can see here. This is the Volume. The Sports Talk Podcast Network, co-produced by Colin Cowherd and iHeartRadio. Oh, I compared them to them. I didn't even realize they were part of the iHeart. I just knew this part. Volume was launched February 1st, 2021. Colin Cowherd podcast. Colin Cowherd breaks down the biggest sports stories. Boom, boom, boom. On March 2021, the Volume entered into a collaboration partnership with the Action Network to bring sports fans a slate of premium sports gambling podcasts. The Volume currently has multiple podcasts, including Draymond Green Show, hosted by NBA player Draymond Green, Inside Garage. Okay. Commercial at 20 months ago. Okay. The only thing it doesn't say is who owns them, right? Contact us. Sometimes you see a clue somewhere. All right, whatever. Volume sales at volume.com. Okay, don't save. All right. So we see here into the collaboration partnership with the Action Network to bring. Okay. Well, all that means to me is what do we do now? Action Network and the volume. Do-do-do-do-do. News. Okay. So the volume, the sports focused podcast network founded by sports media personality Colin Cowherd, presented by FanDuel. Interesting. Is teaming up with the Action Network to bring sports fans a slate of premium sports gambling podcasts. Funny that FanDuel and Colin Cowherd represent that part. But the Action Network is its own gambling site. Key components and partnership include the Action Network talent contributing regularly to the Volume podcast, the Volume utilizing the Action Network app and editorial team's expertise to inform gambling conversations. For the past 20 years, I have been reading Chad Millman's book and Collins Moore. I've started listening to his podcast, all with the goal of getting smarter about sports gambling. That's Colin Cowherd. At the Action Network, Chad and his team have carved out a unique approach to sports gambling coverage. I'm excited to introduce the Action Network storytelling and analytical approach to the Action Network's flagship podcast, The Favorites, relaunch as part of the Volume podcast. Network Millman. Millman will appear weekly on Colin Cowherd's podcast. Colin is driven. Okay. Now, we can go to the Action Network. Interesting. The company, Action Network, is a sports media company, features news and analysis on sports betting. Yeah. Chad Millman, who was just mentioned in that article with Colin Cowherd, will be visiting Colin Cowherd on a weekly basis. Apparently, I don't watch his show anymore because my man, I forgot his name. I always argue on his channel. He's doing really good since the pandemic, but he exposed Colin Cowherd for being a fraud and a hypocrite, contradicted himself, saying Kobe was the best player of the last 10 years, right before Kobe appeared on his show. That's how he introduced Kobe Bryant. And then afterwards, he listen he lets you listen to Nick Wright being on Colin Cowherd's show. And he goes, "There's no way Kobe Bryant was the best player in the last 15 years. It went from Shaq to Tim Duncan, maybe, and then LeBron. But there's no way Kobe did." And Colin Cowherd was like, "Yeah, of course. Yeah." Little bitch ass Colin Cowherd. I'm not mad at you. Get your money though, dog. So, 2018, the company announced the appointment of Patrick Keene as CEO. Keene was a former member of Bleacher Report and was an original seed investor to the Action Network. A former member at Bleacher Report. You know what Bleacher Report is? Bleacher Report is Turner Sports Interactive. Owner, Warner Brothers. Turner Sports Interactive. You know what Turner Sports Interactive is? Turner Sports, Warner Brothers. You know what's funny about that? There's nothing new media about that. That's what's funny about it. There's nothing new media about this so far. It gets worse for Draymond in terms of talking about new media. Remember, Chad Millman was previously an editor-in-chief at ESPN the magazine and ESPN.com. The people that he railroads against. By the way, Action Network got sued one time because Joe West filed a defamation lawsuit against them. Former player, MLB player Paul Duca. Thanks for your time and services with the Mets, Paul Duca. I really appreciate it, even though we lost. I was there for that game against the Dodgers when you had a revenge game in the first round. It was lovely. Paul Duca he made a comment on a podcast. He recalled his teammate Billy Wagner in 06-07. Joe loves antique cars, so every time he comes into town, I lend him my 57 Chevy so he can drive it around. So then he opens up the strike zone for me. So Paul Duca was basically joking around saying that Billy Wagner, who was a great closer in his day in that time period, Billy Wagner lends his car to Joe West, this umpire from back in the day. This makes me feel mad old that Joe West is old. And Joe West sues them for this, which is awesome. That's great that you can sue these companies. This is good to know, by the way. I want to sue somebody. I don't want to, but you know. The Action Network has a content partnership with ESPN, producing a daily show streaming on the ESPN Plus platform called I'll Take That Bet. This new media is so refreshing. Come on, Draymond. Draymond, listen. That's why I can't be mad at Draymond, man.